Hey everybody, I'm coming to you from Lincoln, Nebraska today. I was out here doing a talk on budgeting and common mistakes made in budgeting and how to make sure you're pricing your jobs profitably. So anyway, that's where I'm at out here in this venue. But today I want to talk about um, a subject that's near and dear to my heart, which is the crew out on the field. And that's the life I lived for many years. And I'm doing a series right now going through different tips and tricks for the off season. First one was the how to building a budget, getting your jobs all prepped and in the system and on the schedule, so you're queuing up your pipeline for the year and you're not scrambling to keep that, get all that stuff in April. Then building job folders for your crew and putting all the right information in the job folders for the crew was the third one. And today I want to talk more about training the crew. So what I mean is, you could train the crew on installation practices. Maybe you're getting new products that you're installing, new systems. Like if you're getting SynkedUP, if you're just signing up for SynkedUP, you don't want to make sure that your crew understands the ins and outs. But the way I would start this off is sit down with your crew, have a meeting, get them all in the same place at the shop or whatever your conference room is, and then ask them, hey, what went poorly last year? What was a struggle? And then follow that up with, well, what went well? What did you like? What did you appreciate? What made your job easier? And then I would ask them, what do you think we could get better at in our operation? And finally, I would ask them, how can we prep, plan, communicate to make your life easier out on the job site? Like, can I get you, maybe we make it standard practice that the sales guy puts before photos in every single job in the SynkedUP mobile app. Or maybe we make sure that the closest dump site is always listed in the notes on the job to make it easier for the crew to find where to dump their fill, or whatever. Those are just different examples. And then from that discussion, I would build a list of things you want to train on. Like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And then make sure that everyone is prepped and trained to do the same thing consistently all season long. Like, do all this, like figuring it out, getting through the awkward bumps, and like, yeah, we should do that. Turn it into a process that you actually will do, and make sure everybody understands on the same page, and make sure the crew has a voice in what you want to do or don't want to do. And then I'd just make sure that the systems you already have in place, like, is there anything that you're doing that should be deleted? It's just extra fluff. Like, nobody likes meaningless processes. It kills morale, right? And so I would be looking for, like, what's needless, what's useless, how can we get it simpler or delete it or whatever. And then I would look at the processes you are using that you're keeping and being like, okay, do you know of all the different ins and outs? Like, for instance, if you're using, I talked to a guy recently that uses SynkedUP, and he didn't know that his crew could add materials when they're clocking out that weren't on the original estimate by popping open the item catalog and adding them in. Or I run into crew people often that don't know that they can just switch work areas in their timesheet in 3 simple clicks. They thought they had to clock the whole way out and clock the whole way back in, which you don't have to do. So just different things like that. Just make sure that they understand all the ins and outs. Sit down, do some training, look over their shoulder as they clock in and out. Hey, did you know you could do this? Did you know you could do that? And just make sure that they know how to leverage the tools, the processes you have now to be as efficient and as effective as possible. I would also look at things like, do you have quality control issues? What causes them? What are the things that get missed that cause callbacks? I would maybe come up with a checklist of all the details to go over before you close out a job or walk off of a job site. If you have a phone tag culture problem where your crew's always calling you, asking you questions of like, hey, what plants do we need? What color paper do we have? Like, fix that. It's so needless. It's so inefficient. You don't need to be having another phone call answering that. You can easily fix that by having a good, well filled out, detailed job folder in the crew's hands, either in paper or in the SynkedUP mobile app. And if you do that then, and they call you, you ask them, hey, did you check the job folder? Because you probably know if it's in there or not. And if it's not in there, that's on you. That's your fault. But if it's in there, ask them, did you check? Oh, no, I didn't check yet. Call me back after you checked, and if you still have questions, clunk. If you teach them that you will always answer their question, even when they're averting the process, then your phone tag problem will never go away. But if you discipline yourselves to work on with your systems and processes, and promote accountability. Like, hey, if the salesperson didn't put it in there, that's on them. You need it. As a foreman, I'm standing my ground. I have to have that info. Where is it? You know. And on the flip side, if their phone tag culture is a problem and they're not checking the info you made available to them, that's on them. So the whole point is to make it a faster, easier framework to work in. And I like when the crew does have a problem, I'll leave you this tip yet, then I will wrap it up. But when the crew does have a problem out in the field and they do call you, I like to use the 1-3-1 framework. What's the problem? What are 3 potential solutions, and what is your recommended solution? So meaning, like, don't call me unless you have 3 potential solutions and give me your recommended solution. That way, the monkey's back on their back and makes them think like an owner. Like, so don't be the adult babysitter that always has to come up with a solution for every little bump that comes up in the day. Like, teach them that, I can stop and think and come up with a solution. And slowly but surely, you'll foster an ownership mentality culture in your team, and your life will get a lot less hectic. So, anyway, some of those points may be a little blunt, but I'm trying to make a point that people sometimes try to implement systems like, hey, I'm going to put a detailed job order together for every job, and then they don't discipline themselves to use it. And they revert back to their old ways and phone tag, etc., and say, "Oh, it didn't work." That's on you. Garbage in, garbage out. If you can't discipline yourself to hold to a system, then that's a culture problem. If you
I was surprised it wasn't a transfer.
aren't following the system, the other thing I wanted to mention is, like, or if you have a system that's not worth following because it's useless, delete it, get rid of it, simplify. So anyway. When I sit back and think on what do I need to succeed as a crew leader, my mind goes to all the info I had as a crew leader to kick off a job, and like the more info I had, the less I had to bother the owners or the salesperson or the designer, and we got better and better at this over the years. If you're using SynkedUP, I encourage you to use the SynkedUP digital job folder. You can have all your notes, photos, designs, material lists, everything is in there. Like, use it. It's there for your advantage. It's there to save you time. It's there so you don't have to answer the umpteenth phone call that day when you're trying to sell a job or eat dinner with the kids. Systems are only as good as you discipline yourself to use them. So, to wrap it up, it's all about identifying where the pain points are. What's the 1%? What's the thing that you can get 1% better at every day? And just remember, you don't have to solve the world's problems all in one day. Solve one bottleneck, get that out of the way, then the next bottleneck will appear. Solve that one, and then the next one will appear. Every time you solve a bottleneck in business, the next one appears. So just don't feel like you have to overwhelm yourself or your team with trying to fix everything all at once. It can be a step-by-step process. So make sure you train the guys. Make sure everybody knows how to work efficiently and what systems and processes you are using. And if you don't have anything, you're strictly on paper, get yourself a system, especially if you're over 500K in revenue. Like, the money and you'll save and the efficiency gains is far more than what the system will ever cost. So if that's you and you're looking for something, I mean, we're at the end of January here. It's time. You're not going to have much time left to implement this. And by the time you hit the crazy busy season, you won't even have time to think, let alone implement a new system. So do yourself a favor. Your future self will thank you. Book a demo. We'll show you how SynkedUP can work for you. But in the meantime, I'd like to hear kind of what your wintertime training regimen is for your crew. How do you handle it? What do you like to do in wintertime to maximize your efficiency for the upcoming season? Hit me up in the comments below. And if you like this type of content, hit that like button, subscribe, whatever platform, whatever buttons on the platform that you're watching this on. So thank you. We'll see you.